Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's Best Practices Unstructured Data Migration series. And today, once again, I'm here with Benjamin Henry, Field CTO at Komprise. And as a reminder, I mean, we've gone through really, four great videos with Benjamin, walking through everything from really planning and getting the right analytics into minimizing downtime and setting up migrations. Today, we're going to talk about the important topic of troubleshooting migrations. And so Benjamin, you've done all these things up front, and now your migration's running, but you're facing some issues. What do you do?
So these are kind of the three big topics that I hear a lot from customers are the what ifs, how do we deal with, can we do this? So the top one is always about performance. And everyone always wants to say, how can I make my migration move faster? Um, you know, I'll show you inside the UI where you can see performance related to your iterations, but we'll take a step back here and just understand the dynamics of the migration. A lot of what I see is congestion, um, unknown appliances on the network, routers, firewalls, security appliances that become log jams. So how do we understand those up front or in the middle of a migration? How can we figure out what's causing some of this? Well, ACE, assessment of customer environment. It's something that we have built into the product that can be run by support, CS, your account team, and it tests the data sets outside of Komprise, gives us some timings, and we can get some recommendations and ideas based on those timings to help you figure out what's going on in the environment and what's presenting the bottleneck. Once we get rid of the bottlenecks, the second biggest issue I run into are permissions. Um, if the permissions are not set correctly on the source or the target, we're going to have issues with the migrations. Everybody's going to have issues with those migrations, but there's workarounds. A lot of storage vendors have these processes that can kind of sidestep some of these permissions issues. Again, support, CS, they know these workarounds. Everyone is more than happy to help you apply those workarounds so you're successful at your migrations. And I'm going to show you one of those workarounds today and kind of talk through it. And then the data sets. A lot of questions I get are, hey, I've got bad data. Somebody put emojis in the file names, or there's special characters, or can you deal with double byte characters? The answer is yes, we can. We work with those all the time. As long as your storage technology is using the character sets that supports those, your migration is going to go well. So with that, let's dive into a demo here and talk about a permissions issue. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. We have the main migration screen. I'm going to add another migration. And in this task, I'm going to use a Windows server as my source. I'm going to choose all the defaults in this migration. I'm going to go here. I'm going to choose my Isilon as my destination. I'm going to choose all the defaults for the schedules. I'm going to choose all the defaults for the settings. It's going to do some pre-check. Oh, wait, I can't go any further because there's a permissions issue. So right up front, pretty obvious. Hey, we can't create a test file there. There's something going on. Okay. So one of those workarounds is sidestepping the permissions. And in this case, I'll tell you right now, it's a permissions issue with the destination. It's not permission the same as the source. Well, this happens to be, the Isilon happens to be one of those storage platforms where you can apply a technique called run as root. Run as root will give you all the permissions you need to sidestep where they might be missing. A lot of this comes into play when you have inheritance, and inheritance is broken within a share. You may not have an account that has permissions to everything. Perfect. Set this up and you'll be able to run your migration. Other vendors use things like backup operator roles or custom roles. So again, check with the storage vendor, check with support, check with your CS team. They know those workarounds that can help you apply them in your environment. So I'm going to go ahead and apply one of those workarounds right now. So after I make that change, I'm going to come back here. I don't have to do anything on the screen. I can leave it exactly where it is. All I have to do is after I've made that change, go ahead and hit retry. And I can move past that screen. So now I know my permissions are set up correctly. I'm going to finish this and go ahead and say start migration. All right, so when this goes through, we're going to have our migration screen back here again. I click on the name of my migration job, and I come down here to the iteration, and I can see the details of my iteration. And this is where I talked about earlier. I can understand how well my migration is performing. Now, with this data set, it's very, very small for the purposes of a demonstration. There's only 33 items in here. So there wasn't enough time to get the speed and performance up to where you would normally see the 10, 20, 30,000 files a second. But what I'm looking at are my transfer rates here. That's telling me how fast, one, I'm either transferring or scanning files. When I'm copying data, the transfer rate is important to me. After I've got all my data on the other side, my scan files per second is a really important number that I'm going to watch. And that's going to tell me how fast I'm moving through the data to find the changes. And each iteration, I'm going to get a time. So there's no hidden surprises. You know how long your cutter is going to take from every single iteration. And we're going to give you averages as well as the current time it's taking to do that. So let's kick off another one here real quick. Come up here, start next iteration, start. Going to do with pre-checks, going to start its iteration. I'm going to hit refresh because it's already going to be done. And there it is, 100%. So I can come down here. I can look at all the details of my changes copied. There was one file or attribute, I should say, there was in there. This is the things that it scanned. If there was any errors, I'd get a report here, and I can download a preview of my errors over here. But what if I want to know more? Let's just say there happens to be thousands of errors, and I want to know what's going on. So what if the preview is not enough? Well, we have an audit log for every single action of every single iteration. And by default, that is stored in a hidden folder in the destination. But what if you don't want that in that hidden folder in the destination? Because let's say you've partnered with a third party, another vendor, a migration consulting company, and you don't want them to have access to the destination. You just want them to have access to the audit logs. Well, that's customizable. We did cover it in another series, but it's worth covering here again. So we're going to come over here to System Settings. We're going to go over to our Migration and Replication, and over here we have the audit logs. The default destination is the destination of where you're going, but you have the ability to edit that and centralize it. And you can put it in Amazon S3, S3 compatible, NFS, SMB. You choose the central location, and that way you only have to share that location with your migration partner to access the logs, and they never need access to the data. So there's a quick review of how you troubleshoot your migration. Something to also call out is Komprise is available 24/7 through support. You have your customer success team as well as your account team. Feel free to reach out to any of them for more information. Darren, back to you.
Fantastic, Benjamin. Thank you so much for taking us through that. There's so much knowledge there that you've shared, and we're really interested in other topics that people want us to cover in these kinds of sessions. So hopefully this is useful. I know I learned a lot, and as Benjamin said, reach out to your customer success team, support team, account team. Share your feedback and visit komprise.com/migration and get started. Thanks, Benjamin.
Thank you.